Good morning, Frank. And I tell you what, behind me earlier on, there was a huge line of people trying to get in to watch Jensen Huang. There were extra screens put on so people could watch that keynote. And he was sat alongside the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who was talking up the UK's investment case around AI. But here are a few highlights from what Jensen Huang had to say. First, he said that AI is going through an extraordinary moment right now. He said AI should be seen as infrastructure akin to electricity or even the internet. And he called AI the great equalizer, saying people can now program software without knowing code through things like chatbots as well. He had a lot to say about the UK since he was here in London Tech Week, and he praised the UK, calling it one of the richest AI communities anywhere on the planet. He said he talked up the universities, the education, and some of these companies, but one thing that surprised him was the fact that the UK doesn't have his own infrastructure. Let's just listen in to what he had to say.
UK is in a Goldilocks circumstance. In fact, UK is singular. In any other region, it's singular in this condition I'm about to describe. UK has one of the richest AI communities anywhere on the planet. The deepest thinkers, the best universities, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College, amazing startups, DeepMind, I mentioned Wave and Synthesia, and 11 Labs, and incredible thinkers in computer science.
And of course, NVIDIA wants a piece of this UK pie. There were some announcements overnight about companies here building out new data centers using lots of new NVIDIA GPUs as well. Now, for NVIDIA, the key here really is the company trying to open up new markets, given where some of the current markets like China are becoming a lot more tough. For the UK, it was about the Prime Minister making a pitch for the UK as an AI hub here in Europe and saying that it's a stable place to invest amid some of the geopolitical turmoil we're seeing around the globe. And this is just stop one for Jensen Huang this week on his tour of Europe. He then goes to Paris later on this week, and we'll be there as well on Wednesday when he gives the keynote at NVIDIA GTC. And clearly Jensen Huang right now is hot property. Every country, every government, every world leader wants to get their hands on the NVIDIA CEO. Just not really seen anything like this before from a tech CEO, and I think it shows how central NVIDIA has become to this AI revolution that many, Frank, say is just.
As CEO Jensen Huang focused his sights on Europe on Monday, NVIDIA shares continued their recent advances. London Tech Week began Monday with Huang and Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The occasion highlighted a significant shift in the UK's perspective on technology, moving it from a startup-focused field to one of national policy. Significant investments in technology platforms, human capital, and strategic alliances underpin this strategic change. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, stated on Monday that the UK is in a Goldilocks situation when it comes to AI and announced new plans for investment in the field. Speaking alongside Investment Minister Poppy Gustafson and Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Huang acknowledged the UK's ecosystem and talent, but claimed it lacked a sovereign AI infrastructure. He asserted that machine learning is impossible without a machine. This is where I'm going to invest. In addition to announcing a new sovereign AI conference, NVIDIA claimed that thousands of its Blackwell GPUs will be used by partners Nebius and Nscale to set up data centers in Britain. The comments coincide with plans being advanced by Starmer's Labour government to encourage the development of AI in the country, such as loosened data center planning regulations and a commitment to double Britain's computing capacity by 2030. Huang highlighted AI's capacity to revolutionize a number of industries, projecting that AI will turn every sector in the UK into a tech sector. In order to improve the lives of British residents, Starmer explained his administration's emphasis on integrating AI throughout all branches of government. He emphasized the United Kingdom's strong AI community, large AI capital expenditures, and the country's resolve to establish itself as a center for AI research and development. By setting up an AI lab and working with the government to improve the AI capabilities of regional developers, NVIDIA plans to increase its investment in the United Kingdom. These programs seek to establish a feedback loop in which investments in infrastructure encourage more research, which results in discoveries and the establishment of new businesses. So, what implications does this have for NVIDIA's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication, so if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on NVIDIA stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now, let's get back to the video.
space. We always start this conversation, I guess, with NVIDIA. My question always is,
right.
How do these companies interact with one another? Are they complementary, or are they rivals competing for the same business?
Yes, is the answer, yes. So they 100% work together really closely. But when if you, the thing that I look at is I look at the gross margins that NVIDIA is able to command because they dominate the market for semiconductors going into AI data centers. And if you're a customer of NVIDIA, you don't like that gross margin. You don't like what you have to pay to get these chips. And you also don't like the dependency you have on a single source contractor, not just because they can charge you so much, but somewhere down the line, they might have a problem. And so if you look at what Amazon is doing, designing their own chips, and you look at what Google is doing, designing their own chips, and you look at what Microsoft is doing, designing their own chips, they are all using Broadcom to do that. So Broadcom really is, in as much as they are benefiting through their Ethernet sales and so on with the growth of NVIDIA's business, they are also the competition to NVIDIA because they are the #1 choice of the hyperscalers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, building their own chips using Broadcom.
So here's a question then for you, Corey. If we go back in time, we looked at kind of like the FANG trade, let's call it, of kind of the late 2010s. One of the big reasons that it seemed that those names were able to comfortably be paired together was that they were all very big companies, very comfortable market positions, but they weren't really infringing on each other's business. Now, I would argue that changed ultimately a few years into that trade as the companies continue to, chase growth and look for new places to go. You saw Amazon with Prime Video. You saw Apple with Apple TV Plus. You saw, obviously, Microsoft, if you kind of look at the FANG Plus, looking at some of the things with search and things that they've done the last few years. So as we look at this space, they're complementary, maybe friendly rivals. How long can it last before these companies look for more and more growth and they start trying to cut each other out of the process?
So I think one of the you bring up an interesting point. I think one of the things that's changed in the last 10 years in technology is 10 years ago, if you looked at, Microsoft, Oracle, Amazon, Google, even Facebook, they all have essentially the same stuff. They have the same kind of business. They've got a campus somewhere on the West Coast. They've got a lot of engineers and employees, and they have the same physical infrastructure. Now, it's broken away to be different now. Now you have companies that are dominant in the physical infrastructure of data centers like Oracle, but of course they've got this big software business, or Microsoft has a different kind of software business. But Amazon has a physical presence with trucks driving around in warehouses and so on. But I think that it's also interesting that they do have a similar infrastructure and they're spending billions right now on accelerating the spend of these data centers that do use the same chips. They do use the same infrastructure in terms of networking. Optical networking is now blowing up as a sector that I think we're going to be focused on a lot in the next couple of years. But yeah, these companies are all looking at each other and trying to match each other, buying the same stuff. And it's been greatly to the benefit of companies like NVIDIA and, yes,
NVIDIA and other large tech companies released incredibly impressive earnings reports just when some people thought the artificial intelligence, AI, market was over. The truth is that there is no end in sight to the surge in investment in data centers, AI technologies, and other infrastructure. Amazon just revealed last week that it would be spending an additional $10 billion on new data centers in North Carolina. Compared to 2024, when they invested $223 billion, big tech businesses are anticipated to spend $325 billion this year. AI investment is just getting begun, therefore it's far from over. The AI market is expected to grow significantly through the end of the decade, and perhaps far beyond, as you can see below. The major IT corporations are fighting to acquire as many of NVIDIA's graphics processing units, GPUs, as they can since they are essential data center infrastructure. Elon Musk's xAI supercomputer, for instance, began with 100,000 units, quadrupled that amount to 200,000, and is reportedly planning to expand to 1,000,000 units in the future. Thousands of GPUs are also needed for projects like the one for Amazon described above, and there are several such initiatives underway in the US and around the globe. NVIDIA's results continue to shine because of the extraordinary demand, which is not slowing down. In the recently reported fiscal first quarter of 2026, NVIDIA's data center revenue climbed 73% year over year to $39 billion, while overall revenues surged 69% to $44 billion. As can be seen below, NVIDIA has experienced absolutely astounding growth in both sales and cash flow over the past few years. Nothing suggests that the growth won't pick up speed. For the second quarter of fiscal 2026, NVIDIA anticipates sales of $45 billion, a 50% increase from the previous year. The rules of greater numbers cause the percentages to drop, but by hitting its goal, NVIDIA will increase its overall revenues from the second quarter of fiscal 2025 to the second quarter of fiscal 2026 by $15 billion. The price-to-earnings ratio of NVIDIA's stock is currently 46, significantly lower than its 3-year average of 80. From a forward perspective, this falls to merely 34. Given the strong demand for its goods and its superior growth rate, NVIDIA's stock is expected to continue to outperform the market even though the recent year's exponential gains may be gone. To stay informed about the latest developments from NVIDIA and the ever-changing stock market, consider subscribing to our investing tutorial channel. We provide daily updates on significant market shifts and key catalysts, so hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss crucial information. We'd love to hear your thoughts on NVIDIA stock, so please share your opinions in the comments below. Now, let's dive into today's video.
An hour or so ago.
Well, first of all, I want to say that you hosted a terrific event yesterday. Brought together the AI tech entrepreneurs, many that I work with. So many from your cabinet were there, and urging them, supporting them, encouraging them, showing them your interest, your knowledge of the space, and your commitment to helping them. And I just thought it was a fantastic day. And it was great to see Demis there and Eric Schmidt there, my friends, and Alex from Wave and Synthesia and 11 Labs and River Lane. And there's just so many companies we work with here in the UK, and it's really exciting to see your commitment to them. This is an extraordinary moment. You're absolutely right. We have to lean in. It's an extraordinary moment. There's no question that AI is incredible technology.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about how it can understand information of almost any kinds. It can generate information of almost any kinds. AI can now reason and think and solve problems and use tools. And we know for a fact that we're going to be more productive. We know for a fact that we're going to be more secure because AI is smart. And because AI is smart, it's going to be better cybersecurity agents for us. We know that we'll be safer because AI is such incredibly smart software. It'll keep cars more safe. And so we know these things. But the thing that is quite extraordinary, and it's an incredible opportunity for the UK, is that AI is both a technology, but it is also an infrastructure. It's an infrastructure because it affects so many industries simultaneously. And it affects, of course, healthcare and government and education and manufacturing and financial services. Because this technology is so broad and so transformative to every single industry, it will be considered infrastructure, just as electricity was infrastructure, just as information, connectivity that came about because of the internet is infrastructure. Now we're going to have a new infrastructure, and this new infrastructure is called artificial intelligence. And it's vital that we invest in this infrastructure here in the UK, and with your support, we can do that.
I think just changing the language and the way we see it is hugely important in terms of the commitment that we make and how we work together. And as I said a few moments ago, the speed at which the change is going to happen, and persuading ourselves that the timeframes we would normally expect for pretty extraordinary change just have to be truncated all of the time. And you can see it right before your eyes in what we're able to do as a government. How we're looking across all of the functions of government in each of the departments. We've got Peter Kyle here as the Secretary of State, who's charged not with just running his department, but looking across all departments. He's I've asked him to go into every single department in government and take up the challenge with them of how can you use AI and tech to transform what you were doing, as well as the delivery at the other end. And I think that's a sort of statement of intent as the way that we want to operate.
So, and I love hearing about how we're sort of really driving that adoption. And we've talked a little bit about that sort of investment in terms of the infrastructure that we need and the opportunity that you have in the UK. But how are we thinking about the investment in this sort of skills piece? And could you talk a little bit about how we're creating the skills that will be needed?
Yeah, I said a bit about this in the words just a moment ago, because I think the skills challenge operates at a number of different levels. There's obviously the sort of basic question, which is, can the sector get the skills it needs in the time it needs them? And that's why what we've been able to announce today is so important in terms of the sheer number of people that we can work with across businesses of all different sizes. And this is often more of a struggle, I think, for smaller businesses in terms of getting the right skills in the right place. So what we've set out today in relation to the 7.5 million people who will be trained from different backgrounds and different jobs in AI, hugely important. I'm personally very excited about the initiative in relation to our schools and universities and postgrads, because I think that training young people earlier on in AI and tech means that they will obviously be better skilled as they come into work, but also they'll be much better at it than us. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and they already understand AI and tech in a way which is really difficult to even have conceived of a decade ago. And to get them learning at school, I think will give them that spark. I'm a really big believer, this is my Somerstown school story, that you can't, often we ask young people, what do you want to do when you grow up, or what do you want to do, for a living or a career or whatever it may be. I genuinely think it's hard for young people to answer that question if they haven't been exposed to things like AI and tech, because you can't aspire to do something if you don't really know what it is, or it's mysterious and you think it's for other people, not for me. That's one of the biggest inhibitors for me in life, by the way, is children who think that's for other children, other young people, it's not really for me. So by doing what we're doing in schools, we're opening this out, not just for businesses and the sector to have the best talent coming in the pipeline, but for young people to be the brilliant next generation. And the speed it's going, we won't get to a next generation. That'll be 5 years.
NVIDIA and the UK government have partnered on a number of important projects. The NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute will teach developers in cutting-edge AI methods as part of a nationwide AI skills effort. Earth system modeling, material science, and embodied AI research will be the main areas of study at NVIDIA's new AI Technology Center in the United Kingdom. NVIDIA technology is being integrated into the innovation sandbox of the UK's Financial Conduct Authority, and a collaboration to expedite AI-native 6G research has been announced. Furthermore, it is anticipated that the NVIDIA-powered Isambard AI supercomputer will be online this summer. An important pledge made by the UK government is to invest around $1 billion in AI research by 2030, with financing starting this year. This investment is in line with Prime Minister Starmer's sovereign AI ambitions, which go beyond technology to include preserving a country's culture and legacy through AI advancement. NVIDIA's presence in Europe extends beyond the United Kingdom. In addition to creating Europe's largest AI campus in the Paris area, NVIDIA is working with a number of partners in Sweden, Germany, and France to develop national AI infrastructures and supercomputers. NVIDIA's dedication to the UK is evident by its substantial presence, which includes more than 1,700 Inception members and 500 employees. In addition to assisting a new generation of startups and scale-ups, the company is collaborating with top UK businesses to build AI factories of the future. On June 11th, at 11 a.m. CEST, the drama will continue in Paris at NVIDIA GTC Paris, which will be televised live from Viva Tech. A live stream of Jensen Huang's keynote speech will be accessible worldwide. Discussions about NVIDIA Blackwell, sovereign AI projects, and new regional collaborations will be covered at the event, which will highlight how European innovators are using NVIDIA's assistance to translate their AI aspirations into real infrastructure. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
This morning's action, oil and gold are both lower. The 10-year bond yield above 4.5% today. But Michael Purvis noting that some of those levels were exactly what we saw in January. What do you make of it all? What levels are you watching today as we line up for a very busy week ahead?
Yeah, you're seeing a little bit of pressure when it comes to oil and when it comes to gold, actually, and some of the other metals, as the dollar actually did rise pretty aggressively over the last couple of minutes, Nicole. So that's just something to be mindful of, that inverse relationship. For the S&P 500, obviously we had a really big week, milestone week last week, hitting that 6,000 level. Now we want to be able to see it continue here. And if you're looking at the longer-term time frame, that 6-month daily chart that we've been kind of focusing on here, one thing to kind of note, if you look at the trend line from the lows, and I have this in this white line here, we did actually kind of break that level of that trend line. Now it's not an overall net negative for the market, but it is a little bit of a warning sign. Obviously, we saw some compression in the market, some range-bound trading. There wasn't that much on the radar when it comes to the last week outside of the jobs report on Friday here. So trying to break above, maintain and break above that 6,000 level is going to be key for this week. Looking at 6150 as your positive area or your major area of resistance, this probably will change and be readjusted probably on Wednesday, Nicole, because we are going to start seeing institutions rolling out of those June monthly expiration options and start getting into those September options as well. So we're going to see a lot of adjustment or gyration when it comes to the open interest for the S&P 500. So you can look at 6,000, 6,050 are the two first areas of major resistance. 6,150, if we do see some positive rolls over the next couple of days here, probably is going to be that next level. But once again, be mindful that's going to be a little bit of an asterisk at that level. To the downside, 5,800, if we're able to keep that, that obviously would be fairly ideal here. MACD is still kind of waning for now. You are seeing it kind of flatten out, and RSI is still showing that we are losing momentum. But on the intraday basis, 6,000, once again, key area. You want to see some buyers really stepping in. We're sitting at that level right now. If not, if we kind of flush through, 59.75 is going to be your first major area where you'd like to see some buyers coming in. To the upside, 60.40. So you still have a little bit more of an upside stretch or maybe some momentum here when you're looking at the position rather than downside. But once again, 6,000 is going to be very key. And if we actually break below that 59.75 for whatever reason, looking at that 200 period moving average on the 15-minute chart here is sitting at around 59. Let's call it 59.50. So we're looking pretty decent, but we really want to try to break out of this range fairly quickly here. Don't really want to consolidate going into Wednesday with that CPI print because there is a little bit of a divergence between what the Cleveland Fed is projecting for CPI, which is a lot lower than what the street's expectations are when it comes to headline as well as core CPI. And the Cleveland Fed is actually really good here. So that actually could be a positive or bull catalyst. Or maybe everybody's on the wrong side of the trade. Who knows? But interesting action. Let's see if we have a follow-through day today.
Right, understood. Right now, Warner Brothers, Moderna, Advanced Micro, Synopsys are leading the way on the S&P 500, which you're speaking about, and we're seeing technology and materials as the best performers of the day thus far. We'll talk about some of those names specifically. At the same time, you're watching crude oil, 64.41 the barrel today. Some thoughts there?
Yeah, you are trying to see an attempted breakout to the upside. Let's see if that's going to actually happen. If you look at the 3-year weekly chart, we have had a little bit of a consolidation. Now, it's been a pretty wide consolidation range over the last couple of weeks here, but you are getting a technical breakout to the upside, but we are hitting that 20-period moving average on the weekly, which is sitting at around $65.55 here. So that's going to be an area of resistance where you're trying to get basically back into this kind of wedge pattern that we have seen this market develop pretty much over the last year and a half or so. If we are able to break up, next level is going to be $67, and then above that, $70. When you're kind of looking at the demand side, the demand's still not as great as we would like to see, but there is a significant amount of short positioning when it comes to crude oil futures. And so the hope is that you actually can get a little bit of a short squeeze here, try to push prices higher as we are going into the summer and we are in pretty much driving season right now. Now, that would not be great for inflation, but for those oil bulls out there, this is probably as close as you're going to get to an attempted breakout over the next couple of weeks. So let's see if that's going to actually truly develop here. MACD is also making a bullish cross with that 12 EMA above that 26 EMA. That's actually something to be mindful of for the bulls out there.
Right. We've had a pretty good run in oil, no doubt, as you said, attempting a breakout, but right now pulling back a bit at 64.39. And then as we look at Treasury yields, I did just check, we're at 4.50% on the 10-year. What do you make of that?
Yeah, this ascending channel that we've been in pretty much since March continues to stay intact here. Now, if you kind of look back, the level that you get a little bit concerned about for equities is 4.55%. Usually once we get there, that's when we have seen the S&P 500 kind of move back. Now volatility has gotten a little bit lower. You are seeing our CCI actually making lower highs at this point in time. Once again, kind of showing that price momentum or the momentum in rates are starting to stall. But MACD is actually in a little bit of a bullish formation here. If you're going to see this channel continue to stay in place, you're looking at around 4.65, 4.7% to the upside area of resistance before a potential turnaround here. So it depends on why yields are moving higher. If it's because of economic growth and optimism, then that's a good thing. If it is because of something else, then obviously it's going to be a negative thing here. But it looks like yields want to continue to move higher here over the next couple of